You can literally do everything right, still wake up feeling tired and exhausted, still feel stuck at your job, and still feel like your energy is being drained a lot faster than you can recover. And let me make this clear, this isn't about stress, but it's about something deeper. And the worst part is, people don't even realize it until it's too late. Because quitting your job does feel irresponsible, but at the same time, staying feels unsustainable. And that's a delicate balance. And that's exactly why, in this video, I'm going to break down a real exit plan, basically showing you how to walk away from your corporate job without feeling broke and why the system that you're in might actually be the problem. Alright, let's dig into it. But first, it's important to discover what cumulative burnout actually is. People think burnout is just stress, but it's not. They think it's something you fix with time off, and maybe that's a weekend, maybe that's vacation, maybe that's just random time off that you're using for your PTO, or maybe it's just management. But if that worked, you wouldn't still feel like this. You'd feel a change. Because what you're dealing with isn't temporary, but it's cumulative, and it stacks on top of each other over time. This is what happens when you stack years of output without enough recovery to match your effort. Just think about high performers, responsible people, the ones who kept pushing even when they were already tired. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous, because from the outside, everything looks perfectly fine. But internally, your capacity is slowly declining, and if that's happening, then the strategy you've been using all along is no longer sustainable. And that in itself is what raises a bigger question. If working harder got you here, then why would working harder fix the entire situation? There is something that you probably never heard of before, and that's called the dignity number. So there's this thing called the dignity number, and the average person believes that they need millions of dollars to leave their job and live a good life. And since that's the assumption is what keeps them stuck, because that number feels so far away, and it forces you to stay longer than your energy can handle. But here's the contradiction. You don't need enough money to replace your income. What you need is enough to remove your anxiety. And believe it or not, those are two completely different numbers. And just to clarify, if you don't know what the dignity number is, it's basically the minimum amount of money you need each month to live without financial stress. Just remember, this is not your ideal lifestyle. It's not upgrades, it's just your essential expenses like housing, food, insurance, utilities, and that's it. And when people begin to calculate this, they're usually surprised, because that number is often 40 to 60% of what they're currently earning. Said differently, this basically means the thing that's keeping you stuck isn't survival, but it's your financial structure. And once you see that, the question changes, and it's no longer, how do I replace my full salary? It becomes, how do I consistently cover this number? But I will tell you this, that solving it requires you to think differently about income. Believe it or not, there's another strategy, and it's called the barista strategy. Why is it called that? I have no idea, but here it is. Basically, it looks like a step back, but that reaction is based on perception, not reality. But the strategy is simple. Instead of relying on one high pressure income stream, you split it into two lower pressure ones. For example, a part-time or low stress role bringing in around $800 a month, and you take that and combine it with $1,200 a month from investments, saving distributions, or any type of flexible income, and now you're at $2,000 a month. And this is exactly where the mind shift starts to happen. You stop optimizing for more and you start optimizing for sustainable. And while it does sound simple, it does change everything, because the goal isn't to maximize income, it's to protect your energy. Okay, wait, before you leave, here's a system that you need to take with you. One of the biggest mistakes that people try to do is leave their company first and then just figure it out later. The only thing that does for you is gives you anxiety and pressure that you didn't ask for. And that's what makes quitting very dangerous. And it's not the decision itself, but it's the lack of structure that's behind the decision. Because if your expenses stay the same and your income drops, that's not freedom, that's just pressure, but just in a different form. So before you leave your job, you do have to rebuild your system. That means reducing fixed costs where possible, planning for healthcare once your employer coverage is gone, simplifying your financial life so that your baseline stays predictable, and most importantly, calculating your expense runway. As you think about your life, ask yourself this: how long can I sustain my own life without relying on new income? Because leaving is not about escaping responsibility, it's about restructuring it. And as you shift your mindset, this is what's called creative accumulation, which basically is a fancy finance term. And it means that you use your savings intentionally to buy back your time, space, and energy. Said differently, it basically means that you're optimizing your productivity while your long-term assets are continuously growing in the background. And once that system is in place, leaving doesn't feel reckless anymore. It feels more calculated. Now, let's wrap this up and give you insights in what it's costing you to stay at your job. Now, here's the part that a lot of people avoid because staying at your job feels safe and cozy. And I also do want to mention that there is a cost to staying too. It doesn't really show up in your bank account though. It mainly shows up in your capacity and your time. Your energy drops, your focus declines, and your tolerance for stress gets lower every single year. Until one day where you don't get to choose where you leave anymore. Instead, your body decides, and your mental capacity decides as well. And that version of an exit is always way more expensive. So the real risk isn't staying too early, it's staying too long. The whole point of this video is to let you know that you don't need millions to quit your job. You just need a number that allows you to breathe. It also means that you need a structure that doesn't depend on constant pressure and a plan that gives you control. Because the goal isn't to stop working, it's to stop working in ways that drain your energy. So do me a favor and start here. Calculate your dignity number and strip down your life to what actually feels sustainable financially. Because once you see that clarity, you stop feeling trapped and start realizing that there is a way out of this. That doesn't mean losing everything to get your life back, but creating a structure to sustain it long term. And that also means subscribing to Money Talks Media so that you can build your wealth the right way. As always, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.